This video will demonstrate how to administer, score, and interpret the Nottingham Sensory Assessment. The purpose of this assessment is to assess sensory impairments. It was designed for use with stroke patients, but may also be used with other applicable patient populations with sensory impairments. The three sections of this assessment are tactile sensation, kinesthetic sensations, and stereognosis. Here are the materials needed for each of the sections. The patient should be assessed in sitting and in a suitable state of undress, ideally in shorts and underwear, without TED stockings. It should be ensured the patient is comfortable and in a quiet area with no distractions. Each test is described and demonstrated to the patient before he or she is blindfolded. The blindfold is removed regularly throughout the test to avoid the patient becoming disoriented. The body area to be tested is as marked on the body chart. Apply the test sensation to the test area, to the left and right side in a random order. The patient is asked to indicate either verbally or by a body movement whenever he or she feels the test sensation. Each part of the body is assessed 3 times for each of the tests. Presence of a reflex does not count as awareness of sensation, though this should be commented on in the comment box.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'll be your occupational therapist today.
I'm Karen.
Okay, nice to meet you. How are you feeling today?
I'm fine.
Okay, great. Do you remember when the date of your stroke was?
April 2nd.
Okay. And do you remember which side of the body it was on, your right or your left side?
The right side.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so today I'm just going to be performing the Nottingham Sensory Assessment, and I'm just going to be looking for if you have any sensory impairments as a result of your stroke.
Okay.
So I'm going to be writing down some notes throughout the assessment, but we can go over the results after, so just try your best.
Each test should be performed on all body areas identified in the body chart. For this video, I demonstrate performing the first test of light touch on all the body areas. On the rest of the tests, I demonstrate only 1 or 2 of the areas being tested, but in an actual administration of this assessment, all areas should be tested.
Okay, so for the first part, I'm going to be touching your skin with this cotton ball, and I want you to tell me if you can feel it or not. So you can just say touch when you feel it. And so, for example, can I see your left arm? Okay. And so if I go like that, you would say touch. Could you feel it fine?
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask you to put the blindfold on. And I'll be testing different parts of your body, starting with your face and down to your ankle.
Okay.
Okay. So are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Touch. 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 Okay, now I'm going to do your shoulder. Touch. 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 Okay, great. You can lift the blindfold a little if you'd like. Okay. Now I'll be testing your chest next, right here, so just tell me if you feel it.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Touch. 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 Okay. Now I'll be testing your elbow. So the same thing. Touch. 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 Great. So you can lift the blindfold for a little. And how are you feeling? Are you still feeling okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. Now we're going to continue with your wrist and your hand. Okay. So can you turn your palms face up? Thank you. Touch. 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 Okay, now your hands. Touch. 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 Okay, you can relax and lift the blindfold for a second. Okay, so now I'm going to continue on to your legs. So Can you put the blindfold back down? I'm going to start with your knees, so tell me when you feel it. Touch, 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 touch. Okay, great. Now can you lift the blindfold for a second? Can you put your feet on top of the stool so I can test your ankles and your feet? Okay, so with your blindfold down. Touch, 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 touch. Okay. Touch, 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 touch. Okay, you can take the blindfold off and relax. We're done with that part of the assessment. Okay, for the next part of the assessment, I'm going to touch different parts of your body lightly with the tip of my finger like this, and I want you to tell me if you can feel it or not. So, can I see your left arm to show you? So if I go like this, you would say touch. Okay, great. So can you put the blindfold back on? Okay, I'm going to start with your face, so just tell me when you feel anything. Touch, 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 touch. Okay, now onto your shoulders. Touch, 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 touch. Okay, great. You can take off the blindfold for now. So now for the next part of the test, I'm going to be touching your skin lightly with the tip of the safety pin to see if you can feel it, but I want you to show you on your hand that it won't be too painful, so can you feel that?
Yes.
And it's not painful, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you can put your blindfold back on. Okay. So now I'm going to start on your elbow. Touch, 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 touch. Okay, now I'm going to move on to your wrist. Can you put your palms up? Touch, 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 touch. Okay, you can relax and take off the blindfold then. Okay, now for the next part of the test, I'm going to use these test tubes, and this one's filled with hot water, and this one's filled with cold water. So when I touch your skin, I would like you to tell me which you feel, hot or cold.
Okay.
So can I see your left hand so you can feel it? So that would be
Hot.
and this would be
Cold.
okay. So can you put the blindfold back on? Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start on your face.
Hot. Cold. Cold. Hot. Hot. Cold. Hot. Cold. Cold. Hot. Hot.
Okay, so you can take your blindfold off. Okay, so for the next portion of this test, I'm going to touch your skin lightly with this powder, so it leaves a little mark, and then I would like you to touch where you think I just touched your skin with the powder. So you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so just to show you, I'm going to touch your skin like that, and then you point. Okay, perfect. So now I'll wipe this off. And can you put the blindfold on?
Yes.
so for your shoulders, tell me when, I want you to point to where you feel it. Okay, you can take the blindfold off and relax. Okay, so for the next portion of the test, so for the next portion of this test, I'm gonna either touch your arm on one side or both on two sides at the same time, but in the same spot. So I might touch, that would be one, or this would be two.
Okay.
So I want you to tell me if you feel one or two, and if you just feel one, I want you to say which side you felt it on.
Okay.
Okay, so you can put the blindfold on. Okay, can you put your palms face up? Relax in there. Okay, so one or two.
One left. Both. One right. One right. Both. One left. One left. Both. One right.
Okay, you can relax and take your blindfold off. Okay, that's it for this portion of this.
For the kinesthetic sensations portion of this assessment, all three aspects of movement are tested. Appreciation of movement, its direction, and accurate joint position sense are assessed simultaneously. The limb on the affected side of the body is supported and moved by the examiner in various directions, but movement is only at one joint at a time. The patient is asked to mirror the change of movement with the other limb. 3 practice movements are allowed before blindfolding. The upper limb is tested in sitting and the lower lying supine.
Okay, so for this part of the test, I'm going to move your limb at one of its joints, either up or down, and I would like you to mimic it with your other arm. So move it to the same position that I move it. So for example, if we started with your shoulder and I moved your arm up like this, you would do that. And then if I moved it down like this, do that. Okay, great. So now can you put your blindfold on? Okay, so I'm going to start with your shoulder. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Now relax. Okay. Relax. Okay. Okay, you can relax. Okay, so now for your elbow. Okay. Okay. Okay, you can relax. And now for your wrist. Turn your palm face up. Now. Okay. Now. Okay, you can relax. And now for your hands, so can I have your palm face up again? So move them. Okay, relax that one. And now. And now. Okay, you can relax. And you can take your blindfold off. Okay, so this will be done the same as before. And I'm going to start with your hip. So just to practice first. So if I moved your leg up like that, then how would you move the other leg? Okay, so you can relax. And then put the blindfold on. Okay, so just mimic the way I move your limb with your other limb. Okay? Okay, now like this. Now your other leg. Okay, relax. Okay, now for your knee, I'm going to start with your leg up like this. Okay. So now move it like that. Like that. And like that. Okay, relax. And now just for your ankle. So I'm going to start it up like this. Okay, so like that. And then like that. And like that. Okay, you can relax. Okay, so now we're done with this test. You can remove your blindfold, and we'll go over the results in a minute. Okay.
For the stereognosis portion of this assessment, the object is placed in the patient's hand for a maximum of 30 seconds. Identification is by naming, description, or by pair matching with an identical set. Affected side of the body is tested first. The object may be moved around the affected hand by the examiner.
Okay, so for this section of the test, I'm going to ask you to identify these different objects with your eyes closed, just by how they feel in your hand. So before we start, are you familiar with all these items?
Yes.
Okay, so can we just go ahead and name them all, just to be sure we're on the same page?
Okay. A cup, a glass, washcloth, a penny, a quarter, a dime, a comb, a sponge, a pen, pencil, and scissors.
Okay, great, that's all right. So now I'm going to demonstrate it with your eyes open just to show you how it's going to be. So can you put your left hand on the table? So if I put this in your hand, you would say?
Pen.
Okay, great. So now can you put the blindfold on? And we're going to start with your right hand. So if you could place it on the table with your palm up. Okay? So,
Comb.
okay.
The pencil. The quarter.
Okay.
The pen. Scissors.
Okay. And now this one.
The sponge.
Okay.
The washcloth.
Okay.
The glass.
Okay.
The cup. The dime.
Okay.
The penny.
Okay. That's it. You can take your blindfold off. Okay. Are you still feeling okay?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to do it with your left hand. So,
Okay.
are you ready? You want to put the blindfold back on?
Yes.
Okay.
The comb. The scissors.
Okay.
The pen.
Okay. so for this portion of the test, I'm going to ask you to identify the object just by feeling it with your hand with your eyes closed. And so once you think you know what the object is, say okay or nod, and then we'll lift up the blindfold and you'll point to which one you think it is on this matching set. Okay, so can you put your left hand on the table so I can show you? So if I put this in your hand, once you understand you can nod, and then we'll lift the blindfold, and then which one do you think it is? Okay, perfect. So can you put on the blindfold for us to begin? Okay, so can you put your right hand on the table, palm facing up?
Okay.
Now lift your blindfold. Okay. Now put your blindfold back down.
Okay.
Okay. Now blindfold back down.
Okay.
Okay.
To score this assessment, the examiner must use observations to determine a score for each test based on the guidelines given. Here are the scores for the patient in this video. To interpret the results of this assessment, the examiner should identify which parts of the body have impaired sensations and which type of sensations are impaired by looking at the patient's scores.
So after looking over your scores, I found that everything was normal, except you had a little difficulty in your affected hand with identifying some of the smaller objects like the coins. So as of right now, I would not recommend occupational therapy, but if you find that this is impacting your daily life and your activities, then I would like you to come back and we can reassess this and try to compensate for it if you feel it's necessary. But I'd like to thank you for your time and effort, and that's all for today.
Thank you.
Some ways to improve reliability of this assessment would be to provide standardized written instructions for the clinician to say to the patient for each part of the assessment. Another way would be to provide an assessment manual. A third option would be for the designers to create a training video. To improve the validity of this study, the creator should clearly state the purpose and/or objectives and add or eliminate tests as needed to support the stated purpose. Another option would be to compare this assessment with other established assessments with the same objectives. A third option would be to ensure that the patient is cognitively functioning enough to understand the instructions of this assessment before administration.